Welcome back, everyone. So, today we're diving into Anthropic's highly anticipated new AI model, Claude Fable 5. I mean, it's been trending everywhere, right? And honestly, for a really good reason. Today, we're going to go way beyond the hype. We're putting this super intelligent model through a rigorous showcase and audit to see if it actually changes the game for creators and developers. But before we even get into the tech itself, we kind of have to start with a crazy question. What happens when an AI model becomes too dangerous to release? I know, it sounds literally like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but this is the actual backstory of Fable 5. See, Anthropic developed a model with such unprecedented capabilities, especially in things like cybersecurity, that they genuinely feared it could be weaponized in the wrong hands. They basically faced this massive dilemma of having built something almost too powerful. Okay, let's dive into this because the solution they came up with is absolutely fascinating. You really need to understand the distinction between Mythos 5 and Fable 5. So Mythos 5 is that raw, highly capable base model. It's the unrestrained version that caused all the internal panic. Fable 5, which is the model we actually have access to right now, is the exact same underlying brain, but it is heavily wrapped in safety guardrails and built-in classifiers. It's essentially the caged version of Mythos 5. If you try to ask it something highly sensitive, like a severe cybersecurity threat or a bioweapons query, it instantly detects that, blocks it, and completely reroutes your query back to their older, safer Opus 4.8 model. All right, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to start with the Mythos 5 backstory, jump into a practical app-building showdown, explore mastering the physical world, look at security and automation workflows, and finally, evaluate the price of power. Section 1, the Mythos 5 backstory. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where Fable 5 sits in the current tech landscape. This is why everyone is paying attention. Fable 5 isn't just some marginal iterative improvement. It absolutely dominates. It comfortably beats Anthropic's previous flagship, Opus 4.8, and it completely crushes top-tier competitors like Gemini and GPT 5.5 across all standard benchmarks. Plus, its knowledge cutoff has been bumped all the way up to late January 2026. So right now, for sheer reasoning power, it is sitting at the absolute top of the food chain. Moving on to Section 2, App Building Showdown. Now, benchmarks are one thing, but we really want to see what happens when we put this massive intelligence to work in practical, real-world app generation. Testers gave the exact same single-prompt instructions to both Opus 4.8 and Fable 5. And wow, the results are night and day. Opus 4.8 is great, but it tends to fall back on basic three-section layouts. It uses those generic, kind of purple, vibe-coded default themes that just scream AI-generated, right? And when asked to render a city, it literally gives you these basic box-like cars. But Fable 5? It takes incredible creative autonomy. It expands to five-section layouts, designs beautiful custom themes, and builds out highly detailed city simulations with distinct architecture and, actual realistic-looking cars. But the real magic here is in the details it wasn't even asked to include. Look at these moments of unprompted genius. When asked to build a simple flashcard app called Coco Quiz, Fable 5 autonomously decided to program an entire drag-and-drop matching game, complete with a timer. For a macOS music player, it didn't just plop down a play button. It designed an interactive emotion spectrum chart that dynamically shifts with the music. And in that SimCity clone, it didn't just draw static roads. It programmed functional traffic lights that turn red and dynamically cause actual traffic jams. Because I guess even a super intelligent AI knows a city isn't realistic without a miserable commute. It even thought to animate a moving sun with dynamic clouds traversing the sky. It's not just following orders. It's anticipating what makes software truly great. All right, Section 3, Mastering the Physical World. Now, what's really interesting about this is where the visual capabilities become genuinely stunning. We're talking about raw SVG animations generated purely from code that somehow perfectly understand the laws of physics. When challenged with the super obscure prompt to put a racing kiwi bird on Saturn's rings, it flawlessly executed a 20-to-1 accurate planetary scale. But honestly, even more impressive is the compound bow simulation. Using absolutely nothing but SVG code, the model perfectly animated the mechanical rotation of the pulleys and cams as a bow was drawn back. And when the arrow released, no way, it actually coded in the visible physical vibration of the bowstring. It intrinsically understands how objects physically react to force. And that mastery extends to fluid and spatial dynamics too. Fable 5 can code interactive 3D water tanks with realistic ripples, light refraction, and perfectly accurate buoyancy for objects dropping into the water, like rubber ducks and beach balls, complete with splashes on impact. And if you ask it to render a black hole, it generates accretion disks with accurate tilt, speed, and Doppler effects that literally look like a cinematic shot straight out of Interstellar. All of this, the whole shebang, generated from just a single text prompt. Let's jump to Section 4, Security and Automation. Let's move to and see how this builds, because while the visuals are beautiful, Fable 5's capabilities in automated testing might actually be its ultimate superpower. It doesn't just sit there and spit out a SwiftUI codebase in Xcode, it actively behaves like a human developer. Once a code is written, the model autonomously launches the iOS simulator entirely on its own. It conducts rapid auto-swiping gestures, rotates the screen to test landscape and portrait orientations, toggles between dark mode and light mode, and even dynamically tests audio features. It's acting as the lead developer and the QA tester at the exact same time, saving literal hours of manual work. And hey, remember that massive cybersecurity prowess we talked about at the beginning? The stuff that made it too dangerous to release? Well, here is the proof in action. In a direct security audit test, Fable 5 scanned an entire open-source codebase. It successfully identified 3 low-level issues, 1 medium issue, and crucially, flagged a high-risk vulnerability. And it didn't stop there. Not only did it spot the vulnerability and pinpoint the exact line of code, it automatically wrote and deployed the fix to patch it. It's basically a world-class security auditor living right there on your machine. Finally, Section 5, the price of power. Okay, it's time to bring the awe back down to reality, because tapping into this raw superintelligence comes at a serious cost. Let's look at the entry price, $10. That is the cost for every 1 million input tokens you feed into Fable 5. And for context, if you're working with large code bases or super complex prompts, those tokens add up incredibly fast. It is a really high barrier to entry for everyday casual prompting. And it gets significantly steeper on the other side. $50. That is the massive premium you pay per 1 million output tokens. To put that into perspective, that is exactly double the cost of Anthropic's previous flagship, Opus 4.8. At these premium prices, running a single, high-effort prompt on max settings can absolutely obliterate your token budget in a matter of minutes. So, the crucial point is, because you simply can't afford to use it for everything, how do you integrate this model strategically? Well, this brings us to a pragmatic approach we're calling the Jason Lee playbook, based on extensive developer testing. Step 1, you use Fable 5 as your high-level architect to plan out complex app structures, define features, and anticipate gaps. Step 2, you hand off the actual heavy-lifting code generation to the much cheaper Opus 4.8 or Sonnet models to execute the build. And Step 3, you bring Fable 5 back in at the very end to perform rigorous security audits and stress test the final product before launch. Which leaves us with one final, provocative thought to wrap up our explainer today. Is Fable 5's unprompted genius, its physics-defying coding, and its flawless automation actually worth the luxury price tag for every project? Or is it destined to be the ultimate digital architect, just waiting to hand off the actual manual labor to cheaper, smaller models? Think about how you would integrate this powerhouse into your own tech stack. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the cutting edge of AI, and keep learning.